In all of motorsports, nothing matches the rough and tumble action of motocross. It is often referred to as the most exciting and physically demanding sport in the world. Stay tuned and you'll see why. The AMA National Championship Motocross Series is coming up next. Hello, I'm Larry Myers. Welcome to the 1991 AMA National Championship Motocross Series. Now, if you've not seen motocross before, well, you are in for an exciting time. Today, we're going to bring you coverage from Southwick, Massachusetts. It's the final round of the 250cc National Championship Series. It's going to be a good one. And we'll also have coverage from the 125 class. Now, before we get to that, let's go back to round 6 and Troy, Ohio. It's in the early going of the first moto of the 125 class. That's Jeff EMIG out front, followed by Buddy Antunez, then Mike KIEDROWSKI and Guy Cooper. The championship season appears to have boiled down to a pair of riders. Guy Cooper, our defending champ, on the left of your screen. Coming up on the green Kawasaki, Mike KIEDROWSKI. Now watch as Cooper tries to sneak by to the inside of KIEDROWSKI. Both riders rail to the inside of Antunez. They take over the number 2 and number 3 positions. They'll not drop Antunez back a notch. EMIG continues to hold on to that number 1 slot. But KIEDROWSKI is on the prowl. Now, KIEDROWSKI is ahead in the championship points lead. The 1989 champ looking to reclaim that number 1 plate. He gets a good drive through that violent set of whoop-de-doos. Goes to the inside of EMIG. He gets to the corner first. Takes over the number 1 spot. There's the checkered flag. He's just waiting for Mike KIEDROWSKI to come around a couple of more turns. Here comes the kid. And Mike KIEDROWSKI with one more corner. Takes the checkered flag, and he'll take it all home in moto number 1. Guy Cooper finished back in the number 3 position. The difference between first and third, 5 points. That's how many points Cooper lost to Mike KIEDROWSKI in that moto and in the championship chase. Here we are in the second moto. Out front, it was again the number 18 Yamaha of Jeff EMIG. A whole passel of riders this time hanging tough. And who was the big duel between? You guessed it, Guy Cooper and Mike KIEDROWSKI one more time. Latter stages of the moto, though, Guy Cooper broke loose of the pack as he heads for the checkered flag. He can smell the victory, and that's going to just about tie him for the day on points with Mike KIEDROWSKI. Nothing lost, nothing gained in that championship chase. KIEDROWSKI was having his trouble in that second moto. He tried to get through the pack, and this kind of a situation. Whoa! KIEDROWSKI makes a miraculous save. How he kept it upright, I have no idea. He did, though, got the job done. Left him back in the pack. No hope for the checkered flag. Guy Cooper takes it, followed by the rest of the pack. They're still back there battling. Here you'll get some kind of an idea of Cooper's lead in that moto. He pretty much owned the real estate at Troy, Ohio in moto number 2. Checkered flag still waving, no one there. Here's a pileup in the first corner of the 250 class, moto number 1, and it took out a passel of riders, including Jean-Michel BAYLE, including Damon Bradshaw, but not including Jeff Stanton. Watch this. He did it all by himself on that set of whoop-de-doos. Came down on the crown of one of the whoops on the small of his back. Now, Stanton was already hurting from a practice injury suffered just a couple of days prior, and he rode, got up and rode, but did not ride like Jeff Stanton. Meanwhile, Damon Bradshaw, he was involved in that first corner crash, and he felt it. Look at him holding on to that left shoulder. Bradshaw would pull off the track after just another circuit or so, see if he could get that arm back in shape, see if he could hold on to ride the rest of this race. It would be to no avail. He did not even start in moto number 2. Now, while Stanton was crashing and Bradshaw was pulling off the track, another rider was really putting it together. Jean-Michel BAYLE, there he is. BAYLE got up off the ground involved in that first corner crash, straightened his handlebars, got a new pair of goggles, got a drink of water, changed the oil in the motorcycle, put some air in the tires, did whatever he wanted to, got back out on the racetrack, and he still managed to finish in the number 5 position. Before it was over, he would catch Jeff Stanton. Stanton would finish in the number 6 spot in that moto. Here was the real battle all day long between these two riders, Larry Ward and Jeff Matasevich. Here's another shot of BAYLE working through the pack. This time, Mike LaRocco is his victim. The Suzuki Ace, rider number 6, another of those riders that were mired down in corner number 1. For pretty much the entire moto, those two riders worked their way through the pack. They cut and slashed, hacked at each other. BAYLE finally moved right up to the rear wheel of LaRocco. LaRocco made a mistake, but BAYLE was unable to capitalize. Here's where most of the action was. It was between Larry Ward, rider number 10, and Jeff Matasevich aboard the Kawasaki, rider number 7. There's Doug Dubach, rider number 15. He finished third. Here comes the battle for the number 4 and 5 positions in Moto number 1. Look at this. They were side by side. Bayle had him passed, just knew he did, but LaRocco pulls it out at the gate. He finishes 4th. Jean-Michel Bayle in the number 5 position. The overall in that 250 class won by Jeff Matasevich. He took a pair of second places on the day. We'll be back with more action right after this. The AMA National Championship Motocross Series, the 125 class is on the line. It's Mike KIEDROWSKI, the 1989 champ, current series points leader. There's Guy Cooper, the defending champ. Cooper is trailing KIEDROWSKI in the championship chase. Earlier, we talked to Guy Cooper, who is from Stillwater, Oklahoma, about this racetrack and his chances for gaining some points on KIEDROWSKI.
It's really important for the start, and Mike is good on the sand. He's pretty fast on almost all the tracks. And last year I won both motos here, and it looks like it's going to be a battle between us.
And it's been a battle between those two young riders since the outset of the season back in March down in Gainesville, Florida. That was the season opener. There's our starter. He'll turn that card sideways. It's the signal for the riders on the line to drop their bikes in gear. They've done that. There's Guy Cooper, rider number 1. KIEDROWSKI is number 4. Jeff EMIG, rider number 18 of the Yamaha team. The gate has been dropped, and this one is underway. The field of 40 riders stormed through corner number 1. The soft sand here at Southwick, and it's taking its toll already. I started to say the soft sand could present problems to some of the riders that are California-based. They grow up on hard-packed tracks, and the soft sand presents a whole different set of obstacles to them. Jeff EMIG, number 18, the Yamaha ace out front. He was followed closely by Mike KIEDROWSKI. Looked like Buddy Antunez running up in the number 3 position as the field starts to sort themselves out in the opening laps here in Southwick, Massachusetts. It's round 7 of this 125cc championship series. EMIG is a whole shot artist. This young man from one end of the country to the other seems to have the ability when that gate drops to put his Yamaha out front. Quick reflexes, well, they all have them. Deciding when to drop that clutch, when to twist that throttle, when to let it all hang out is the deciding factor on who gets a good start, and EMIG is particularly good at it. Right now, EMIG being chased by Mike KIEDROWSKI. Guy Cooper behind the front-running duo. Cooper is going to have some catching up to do as these two riders starting to leave the rest of the field behind him. We need to make that front-running duo a front-running trio as number 31, Doug Henry, holding down that number 3 position, is well in contention for this win. Earlier this season, Henry picking up the overall win in Sacramento, California. We'll talk about that race as this one gets a little bit further along. Right now, though, it's still Jeff EMIG holding down that number 1 spot. Mike KIEDROWSKI trying to catch up. These motos are 30 minutes plus 2 laps long. There are 2 of them to decide the overall winner for the day. Each moto, though, scored independently. The first rider gets 25 points. That's the first rider to take the checkered flag across the finish line. Second rider gets 22. The third place rider gets 20. 18 goes to rider number 4, then down to 16, 15, 14, and on down the line until the 20th rider that crosses the line gets 1 point. Each moto scored independently, and Doug Henry coming into that soft sand just gets it turned a little bit sideways. Henry washes out that front wheel. Looked like he lost control coming over that bump, and well, when you're into sand, it's pretty difficult. Here's another look at it. Watch Henry now. He just gets the back end of the motorcycle up in the air. His weight was too far forward. Never had a chance. That soft sand, though, did provide a better landing spot than the tracks of California. Front running duo with more 125 and 250 action coming. Stay with us. It's going to be exciting. The current series points leader at Jeff EMIG, though, taking the measure of KIEDROWSKI in moto number 1, at least thus far in the action. In the early going, there were 3 riders out front. Doug Henry, rider number 31, if you recall, was on the tail end of those 2, but crashing, going head over heels in the handlebars in that soft sand. He's out of contention as here's Guy Cooper. Rider number 1, Cooper, the defending champ. Number 42 is Brian Swink. These 2 riders are running back about 4th or 5th place. And we had an altercation on the racetrack. Look at this. The 2 leaders, Jeff EMIG, there's EMIG in the center of the racetrack trying to pick his Yamaha up. Mike KIEDROWSKI was up quickly, and KIEDROWSKI is gone. In fact, he didn't lose a place at all. He's holding down the number 1 spot. Here comes KIEDROWSKI. He suffered absolutely no ill effects from that crash. The 2 riders apparently colliding on the racetrack as KIEDROWSKI tried to make the pass. Now, EMIG still down on the racetrack. not able to get the Yamaha up and fired and back into the action, is going to be out of contention, while KIEDROWSKI concentrated all of his efforts on getting up as quickly as he possibly could. And that's the mark of a seasoned pro, a seasoned veteran. In fact, KIEDROWSKI, as we have said earlier in the going, former national champ in this class. He did that in 1989. KIEDROWSKI takes the checkered flag. Working up to the number 2 position is the defending champ in the rider setting in second place in the standings. There he is, Guy Cooper. Brian Swink finishes 3rd, Steve Lamson 4th. They're members of the Pro Circuit Peak Antifreeze team. Rounding out the top 5, Buddy Antonez, Team Suzuki. We have more coming up. Season finale for the 250cc class about set to get underway. On the line, there's Jeff Stanton, number 1. Number 11 is Damon Bradshaw. Those two riders are chasing. Rider number 8 just moving onto the line, Jean-Michel Bayle. Earlier today, Bob Hurricane Hanna, a living legend, talked with Jeff Stanton.
Thank you, Larry. We've got Jeff Stanton in the pits at Southwick, Mass. The last few weeks you've been catching up. You got the points right really where you wanted to have them. A few guys went down in the first corner last week. You didn't know it. You thought you were going to still have to try 100% that first moto. You had some bad luck. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I didn't know that Damon and Jean-Michel were laying down in the first corner, and I was in 3rd, and on the first lap I wanted to get by Matasevich and Larry Ward as quick as I could, and I was trying a little bit too hard, and I crashed on a series of jumps, and everybody says, well, you should have took it easy, but I didn't know everybody was laying in the first corner, and that pretty much cost me the championship right there.
The guys on the side, they can always say what you should have done. It's a little hard to figure that out when you're in 3rd place out there, and it's your nature to go for it and get the win, and you needed those points, didn't you?
Yeah, they were very, very valuable points to me, and it would have been great, but woulda, coulda, shoulda, it didn't turn out, and there's another year. I just look forward to getting a good win here in Southwick and winning 5 out of the 7 nationals this year.
Stanton still has a chance, although it's a slim one. Now Bob Hanna's with Jean-Michel Bayle, the series leader.
If you win the championship after the first moto, then it's wide open, huh?
Yeah, you know, I never win a race in 250 nationals this year, so I want maybe to win one, so I'm going to try today.
Does this track suit you? Is this a European-type sand track or a little tight?
Yeah, it's, you know, we have a lot of track like this in Europe, but I don't like this kind of track because, you know, it's very physical and you have to be strong, so I'm going to try my best. I know I'm very fast. I hope I can be that fast for 30 minutes.
All you need is about 15 points and you'll have it wrapped up.
Yeah.
Well, in case you're wondering, that accent behind the smile and the starting of a newly found beard is French. Jean-Michel Bayle, the former world champion. 2 times he has turned that feat from France. Earlier this season won the Camel Supercross title. Now looking for title number 2 in the United States. A couple of riders going down on the start. Color them gone from the results of Moto number 1. Heading through corner number 1. And that's Mike LaRocco. LaRocco going down in the soft sand. He got tangled up with a couple of other riders. LaRocco will not be a factor in this one. This track is way too tough, and the rock competition just way too outstanding for LaRocco to come back and do any damage to any of the riders up front. There's Jean-Michel Bayle, rider number 8, just flashing through the screen. As Bob Hanna pointed out, somewhere in the vicinity of 15 points is going to give the title to Bayle if he can garner that many in Moto number 1. He could then come back out and do whatever he wanted in Moto number 2. Actually, he could stay in the truck if that's what he wanted to do, and the championship will be his. Damon Bradshaw, meanwhile, rider number 11 out of Charlotte, North Carolina. An 18-year-old youngster is going to do whatever he can to take home an overall win in this series. Bradshaw taking the whole shot. He leads it. There's Jeff Stanton holding down the number 3 position. Jeff Ward, another former champ, rider number 3 on the Kawasaki. We had a shot of him just a second ago, is also up front. They're all chasing Damon Bradshaw aboard the Yamaha. Now Stanton has moved to 2nd. There was Ward holding down the number 3 position. Doug Dubach, the Yamaha rider, in 4th. There's Jeff Matasevich, rider number 7, another one of the strong young lions on this racetrack. Jeff Stanton giving chase to Damon Bradshaw in the first of 2 motos in this 250 class. Now, this is round 7 at Southwick, Massachusetts. It is, for the 250s, the season finale. Now, in the 125 class, that series is 13 races long, so we've got a long way to go to determine that championship. We saw Moto number 1 of that class earlier. Coming back now, and Jeff Matasevich having his problems. Matasevich going down in this soft sand of Massachusetts, picked the bike up, evidently forgetting to pull the clutch in. The bike lurched ahead, and Matasevich dropped it a second time, this time stalling the engine. And here comes Mike LaRocco. The action, though, up front, and Jeff Stanton goes to the inside of Damon Bradshaw and takes over the number 1 spot. Now, out of the 6 races run so far this year, the 6 events held in this 250 class, Jeff Stanton has won 4 overall titles. Jean-Michel Bayle has won none, yet Bayle is leading the class. He's been the more consistent of the 2 riders. Stanton failed to finish at round number 2, Sacramento, California, just 1 week ago in Troy, Ohio. Stanton was not able to even start due to injury suffered in that crash that we showed you at the outset of this program. Lap number 1, Stanton injured himself, not number 2. Lost a lot of points in the process. A lot of racing yet to come. Stay with us. We'll be right back. A company championship motocross coming to you from Southwick, Massachusetts. And we're watching the first moto, the first of 2 races that we're going to see today in the 250 class. Out front was Jeff Stanton. Here's Damon Bradshaw, number 11. Bradshaw holding down the number 2 position. Now, Stanton is the defending champ. Comes out of Sherwood, Michigan, rides for Team Honda. There's Jeff Ward holding down 3rd. He's a Kawasaki rider and formerly a champion in the 250 class. Ward, incidentally, the only rider to have ever captured championships in all. And Jeff Stanton goes off the end of the racetrack. He looked behind him over his shoulder to see if Bradshaw was ready to pounce, but Bradshaw, concentrating at matters at hand, did not see that move. He might have been able to eke out a pass there, but missed the opportunity. We didn't see what Bradshaw was doing. Could be he was giving it everything that he could possibly give it. But meanwhile, Stanton went off the track, looked behind him. Where was Bradshaw? Nowhere to be seen. He just grabbed a handful of throttle shot back onto the track to hold onto that number 1 position. Damon Bradshaw then holds 2nd. There's your leader, Jeff Stanton. Now, if you've just joined us, we talked about Jean-Michel Bayle earlier. Bayle running off the pace from the front runners is to clinch the national championship. He has the series points lead, and he's not really concerned about what is happening in front of him. He can sit back and collect the points, collect the title, and let these 2 riders go out and do all of the bar banging, all of the gas tank slapping that they want to do, and they are doing just exactly that. They want to collect the title here at Southwick, but Jean-Michel Bayle, there he is, rider number 8, content to sit back, take the points, win the championship. That's what it's all about. For Stanton, for Bradshaw, for Jeff Ward, the only thing left in this 250 series is to collect an overall win here at Southwick. A lot of money connected, of course, with doing just that. Title out of the reach. Let's just make that clear. Jean-Michel Bayle is going to wrap that up here in Moto number 1. And we are in the closing stages of the Moto. In fact, Jeff Stanton headed for the checkered flag. He's going to collect one more Moto victory this year in his quest for another overall win. If he could do it, pull that trick, it will be win number 5 for Jeff Stanton. Need to point out to you that to do that, of course, Stanton has to come back and perform well in Moto number 2. The points are combined from both races, and the guy that gets the most, the rider that takes the most points, is the one that is declared the overall winner. There's Damon Bradshaw. He was the early leader. He finished in the number 2 position. Behind Bradshaw is going to be Jeff Ward. He needs to keep it upright just a little bit further. There he is, Ward, rider number 3. He finishes 3rd. Jean-Michel Bayle finishes 4th, wins the national championship. Doug Dubach, Team Yamaha rider, will finish 5th. Let's go to Bob Hanna, who was with Bradshaw.
Damon, a little hot out there today, real rough. You and Stanton were going at it pretty hard. Did you wait for the second moto a little bit, or is Stanton riding good today? What's going on?
Well, he's riding really good. I got off to a good start, and you know, and I didn't really want to be out front, but I was riding good, so I just kind of stayed there, and he went by me a couple corners, and he was riding really good. I worked my butt off, and there toward the end, he sped up a little bit, and I tried to do it, and I got caught in some lap traffic, but you know, I deserved the win.
A little one line out there, lapper's a problem?
Yeah, it is a couple parts of the track. It's like you'd get by him on the straightaways, and then I'd get caught behind him in the corners and lose a little bit of time. That I'd have to, you know, work to catch up again. Then it was the same thing had happened again. So let's see what happens second moto.
All out second moto, everything goes, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to. You know, I didn't hold back anything in the first moto. You know, like last couple laps, I figured if I pushed it a little too hard, I may end up going down. So I kind of tried to save a little bit for second moto.
Last 250 race this weekend. You going to ride the 500s?
Yeah, we're going to be first race at Millville. We're going to be there and doing some testing the week before, so we should be ready.
How's that bike working?
It's working really good. I think a lot of people is going to be surprised. Everybody's saying, you know, you're riding the WR, and I said, well, it's not a WR, it's a race bike.
WR stands for race bike in this.
There you go. That's right.
Well, good luck in that second moto, and good luck. I think you're going to have a good race with Stanton.
Thanks a lot.
Well, that's the view from our vantage point in Southwick, Massachusetts, as we look out over the countryside. More action still to come in both the 125 and 250 class. We'll be back. Stay with us.
I'm Bob Hurricane Hanna, and welcome to Inside Motocross. Hi, Bob Hanna here with another look inside American motocross. The machines you see at the Nationals today are on the cutting edge of technology, constantly being updated and refined to produce the maximum performance. Today, we're going to take a look at some of those machines and some of the men that keep those machines the best of the best. One of the crucial decisions a rider-mechanic team have to make every week at every different track is what tire selection to make. Today, we have Frank Stacey with us of Dunlop Motorsports Racing. Frank, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Bob.
Back in the early 70s, late 70s, when we were banging bars with each other, I ran the same tire selection for 6 and 8 weeks at a time, and I'm sure you did. It's a little different nowadays.
Yeah, the early days, you basically had one tire as kind of a do-all type tire, you know. It didn't matter so much on the ground condition. You know, front tires or rear tires, you basically put one set on, you could race anywhere in the country. Now it's much more high-tech, more sophisticated stuff. We have different patterns for different conditions, and the factory riders really fine-tune more for hard-packed tracks, medium tracks, and soft tracks. Depending on what the weather does or even just the track conditions, you could change maybe 3 different rear tires.
Possibility of changing first moto and second moto during the same day.
Exactly, yeah.
Give us a little rundown. How would you develop a new tire? Say you want a new sand tire that some other company maybe is edging in on you and say, we need a new sand tire. What would be the process of doing that?
Well, the tires start out all as a, they look like a road race slick, very similar to a road race slick when they come out of the mold. It's just, and you would paint the pattern on the tire, on that particular slick appearing tire. You simply hand cut the pattern out, all right, and then we'll go off and test it. Because you have to prove the pattern. You might want to make a few changes to the pattern. You want to prove it before you go and make the very expensive mold, you know.
And you would ride with factory riders how many different times before that you'd really trust that pattern?
We usually have, our development program is usually about a 2-year period before the tire actually goes on the market. It's quite a long time, it's quite costly, but by that time we're very assured that the product is ready for the consumer.
You'd hand cut all these tires, test them, and even run hand cuts at some of the races?
Oh yeah, we'll race hand cuts, sure. Everything starts as a hand cut. You know, we'll race it, we'll test it, we'll fully develop the tire before we make the mold, and then we'll race molded tires for probably a year, and then it'll be market ready.
How many different tire selections do you have, starting hard track, medium track, clear into a soft track, muddy track type?
Well, we have the 4 basic groups covered. You know, your hard pack, which is much more of a bigger block, very close spacing between the rows of the tires. They're much closer together, trying to put the most rubber on the ground that you can put down. And then you'll have a medium type condition tire, which has a little bit more space between the row, a little bit skimpier block, maybe a little bit different tread compound, something more with a wider range. And you'll have your soft track tire, right, which is basically medium to soft. It fills that gap. It has a smaller, sharper block with more space, so the tire cleans all the mud and the loose dirt away that it's going to encounter on the track. And you'll have something like this tire here, which is a full-on mud sand type tire, just real aggressive, lots of space, and cleans and paddles dirt really well.
Almost a paddle tire, the old day we speak of paddle tires.
Yeah, the paddle tires, they're actually rules that we have to live by that are governed by the AMA to make a paddle tire, because a tire cannot have a continuous rib from one side of the sidewall to the other. It has to be broken up somehow, otherwise it's an illegal tire. I
remember when they made that rule in '77 when Jimmy Weinert threw about 30 minutes of sand in my face in Oakland, I believe it was. Today's paddle tires, as I rode, work real well in the corners and down the straightaway too. Oh yeah, well they've got shoulder blocks now. Before they never did. They just had a rib that went from one side of the tire to the other, a big space, and then another rib. And that space is where they were losing all their side grip. Had great drive, but no side grip. Well, thanks a lot for being with us today, Frank, and hope you guys win a lot of races this year.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
I'm Bob, and we'll see you next time in Motocross.
In the history of motocross. Thank you, Bob. We'll be back with the 125 second moto right after this.
Once you got a kind of a bad start today and worked up the second, that's really all you need. Are you looking for a good second moto?
Yeah, if I can get out of the gate the second moto, I think I can hang in there and stay up there on the points. And I wasn't going into this race really strong today, and I just wanted to maintain as many points as I can.
I think it's going to be a tough race with KIEDROWSKI, the second moto, and it really depends on the start here. Big important on the start.
It's really important for the start, and Mike is good on the sand. He's pretty fast on almost all the tracks. And last year I won both motos here, and it looks like it's going to be a battle between us. There are some other riders, though. Doug Henry looked like he was going good the first moto, and Brian Swink was on my tail. We swapped places several times, so it's not going to be easy, but I think it will still be me and Mike out there the second moto.
Well, that remains to be seen. Mike KIEDROWSKI, rider number 4, the winner of the first moto, leads this class. And this is not the finale of the season for the 125 riders as it was for the 250cc class. They still have a good number of races to go. And as they get underway, it's Guy Cooper, rider number 1, taking over that number 1 spot. Close behind, holding down the number 3 position, was KIEDROWSKI. Looked like Brian Swink of that Pro Circuit race team working his way into the number 2 position. Cooper out front, leading the field. Now heading into this Southwick race, it's round number 7 for the 125 riders. KIEDROWSKI had 230 points. Cooper with 215 holding down the number 2 position. We've got a battle already for the number 1 position. Look at this. In the early going, Swink is not happy with that number 2 spot. He wants to overhaul Cooper. He wants to make the pass and try to put some distance between himself and the rest of the field if he possibly can. In this early going, they're holding nothing back. Mike KIEDROWSKI is right there holding down the number 3 position. He's watching the action in 4th. It was Steve Lamson, 5th, the property of Buddy Antonez, and Jeff EMIG, rider number 18, was holding down 6th. We have a rider down, and it looks like Brian Swink, and it is. Swink got just a little over anxious too early in the going, and Swink is out of contention here in the second moto. He'll try to collect his thoughts and pick off as many riders as he possibly can before the end of this one to gain the most or the maximum number of points for the Pro Circuit Racing Team Honda, but he's not going to be able to catch the fleeing Guy Cooper out front or Mike KIEDROWSKI, who's holding down the number 2 position now. Now KIEDROWSKI will follow Cooper. He doesn't want to make any type of a brash mistake. He doesn't want to get his wheel stuck in edgewise and make a mistake that would put him on the ground and cost him championship points. Instead, he'll follow. He'll look for some kind of a mistake on the part of Guy Cooper. And probably if the mistake does not materialize, if the big opening for the pass is not there, it wouldn't surprise me at all if KIEDROWSKI were to just sit back and settle for that number 2 position. He that way would split points for Guy Cooper, or with Guy Cooper, I should say, for the day, and he would come out of here again with a 15-point lead after Southwick. Now, you heard in that interview that Guy Cooper did with Bob Hanna that Cooper was not feeling up to snuff, said he was just trying to get whatever points that he could out of this thing. A practice incident just a few days ago involving Guy Cooper, and in fact, it was Bob Hurricane Hanna. As the two of them were out on the track testing, Cooper went down, and a pass has been made. Mike KIEDROWSKI, the Team Kawasaki rider and former national champ, has moved into the number 1 position. KIEDROWSKI not waiting around at all. He's not content. He's never been that kind of rider to rest on his laurels. He wants to win this championship running away. This young man is just turning in an outstanding performance here at Southwick. He has taken over the number 1 spot. I would have thought that maybe he would have settled back and taken the number 2 position with glee, but that's not the way it works, I guess, in Mike KIEDROWSKI's mind. You got to give this young man all the credit in the world. He's not going to be, obviously, a champion who
takes what he can get, settles for the checkered flag, settles for the points, settles for whatever it might be. He wants to go out, charge to the front, win every moto that he possibly can win. So Kiedrowski takes over the #1 position. That shoves Cooper back into the #2 spot. And Kiedrowski, if he can keep it upright throughout the rest of this moto, is going to collect even more points and gain even more points in his quest to regain that championship. Emerging from the back part of the track is Guy Cooper. There's Buddy Antunez. Now they're setting in the #2 and #3. Whoa, let's correct that. They've been passed. Steve Lamson, rider number 29, has taken over the #2 position. That's going to drop Cooper back to 3rd. And Buddy Antunez is in 4th. Jeff EMIG will be 5th. That looked like Jeremy McGrath may be sneaking inside the top 10 in this second moto. Tell you, a guy that really doesn't care who is doing what back in those positions is this young man from Canyon Country, California, the 1989 125 champ. Give him all the credit in the world. Talk about a hard charger. He is it. That's Mike Kiedrowski. Won moto #1, has forged now to the lead in moto #2. There's Steve Lamson, number 29, who moved into that #2 position. He's 2nd place in this second moto. Did that on the back part of the track, out of sight of our cameras. And Lamson is turning in a stalwart performance here. He's a member of the Pro Circuit Peak Antifreeze race team. That team very well represented with himself, Brian Swink, Jeremy McGrath, Jeremy Buell. Those are the 4 riders as we reach the halfway point that ride for Pro Circuit. Look at this track here in Southwick. A fall-away jump, a downhill section, and it's all sand. It is all tough. On a 125, you really have to be careful. If you let that motorcycle drop off its RPMs, the sand will bog you down. So you have to ride to perfection. That's what Kiedrowski is doing. Lamson out front. There was Cooper. Here's Buddy Antunez in 4th. EMIG is 5th. And a Pro Circuit rider, I believe that's Jeremy McGrath, has moved into the #6 position. If you've just joined us, this is the second of 2 motos here in Southwick, Massachusetts. It's the 7th round of this 125cc National Championship Series. It's a beautiful track, beautiful scenery, and there's a young man that pulled over to the side to enjoy some of it, as well as watching the race action. Had a good seat from his vantage point high atop that hill here in Southwick, Massachusetts. Now, earlier I started to tell you just about the time Kiedrowski took over the #1 spot about the problems that Guy Cooper is suffering out here today. It was in a practice accident, and there's Guy Cooper, rider #1. He's holding down 3rd. A practice accident that happened a couple of days ago. Cooper fell on the racetrack. Right behind him, well, it was Bob Hurricane Hanna. Hanna putting on the leathers one more time, maybe trying to relive some of his championship glory days, and coming out in this Southwick track, a track that Bob Hanna had won on many times in the past, a track that he particularly likes because it is so rough and so hard to get around on. That was a Bob Hurricane trademark. The tougher the track, the better off he liked it, or the more, I should say, he liked it. In any event, he liked it so much that day he was trying to keep up with Cooper, ran into him when Cooper fell. Cooper had to be taken to the hospital, and he's awfully sore out here today. But these guys are tough. Mike Kiedrowski, the series leader, has gone through similar incidents in his career, and even this season. Riders riding on the track with injuries that would put most of us, I think, on the sidelines and watching. Happy to watch, I might add. But Kiedrowski, Cooper, the rest of them, extremely tough young men. They know that in order to gain the points that you need in a championship chase, you have to put up with that type of situation. You have to get out on the racetrack. You have to collect as many points as you possibly can, put it all behind you, come back another day, then try for the wins. Kiedrowski out front in this. He's collected 1 moto win already today, and he is rapidly running away from the rest of the field in this, the second moto. No one has been able to take the measure of or even come close to keeping up with Mike Kiedrowski. He has it under control, wants that championship back. Guy Cooper flashing through the mechanics area. He's dropped all the way back to the #6 position as we're in the closing stages of moto #2 here at Southwick, Massachusetts. Kiedrowski flashing through a corner, posing for a photographer. There are a number of them here in Southwick. Spectacular setting, spectacular racetrack, one of the best on the circuit. Mike Kiedrowski can feel it now. He has a huge lead. He cast a look over his shoulder to see where the rest of the competition might be. No one in sight. He can afford to shut it down just a little bit. And he's coming around the final corners, giving a wave to the crowd down this big fall-away jump. One more time into the soft sand. He lands, heads for the checkered flag in the second moto, and Kiedrowski wins a pair of them here today at Southwick, arm up in the air. He's telling the rest of the world, hey, that championship that I lost is coming back home. Steve Lamson, his best performance of the season. He finishes in the number 2 position. A good, strong ride by that young man. Buddy Antonez finishes 3rd. He's congratulated by his mechanic. 4th will go out to Jeremy McGrath. There's Doug Henry, rider number 31. Remember that crash in the opening moto? Henry's going to finish 5th. And there's Guy Cooper, a sore Guy Cooper, I might add. He dropped back to number 6 position after leading in the early going of FIRST MOTO. You can just see the way Cooper is setting on the motorcycle that he is not comfortable, not a happy camper at this point. Back with the second moto in the 250 class right after this. That up in moto number 1. All he has to do now is coast, or maybe we'll see the BAYLE that's going to come out charging to show the fans what he's made of. Easily the most talented rider on the field, or in the field, I should say. The gate is dropped. We're underway with his second moto, the soft sand at Southwick, Massachusetts, and riders colliding, bumping handlebars. There's Mike LaRocco in the first moto. LaRocco went down. He managed to stay upright this time, but he has absolutely no prayer of winning this one. He is well back in the pack. Riders just kind of converging on each other as they circulate around or through that first corner. It's very soft, very treacherous. Those are the racing conditions that they're under. And Jeff Stanton, winner of moto number 1, pulls the whole shot in this second moto, and he's starting to wheelie away. I think Stanton is trying to deliver a message to the rest of the field and to motocross fans in general that, hey, I've won this championship. This is what he's saying for the past 2 seasons. And although I'm not going to win it this year, I should have. He has so far this season collected 4 overall wins, but he's not even close in the point standings. He failed to finish in Sacramento, California. That was the race that was shown earlier here on the Prime Network, where it was so muddy, so wet. The green flag is out. That means all systems go. And it was such a chore for the riders to keep the motorcycle on the racetrack and in contention. It was so bad, in fact, the conditions were that the 2-moto format that is normally conducted by the American Motorcyclist Association was cut down to 1 moto. They didn't feel anyone would be able to make 2 laps, or 2 motos rather, of that treacherous track. Here's Jeff Ward holding down the number 2 position. And as we said, the conditions were so bad that Jeff Stanton did not finish. Damon Bradshaw did not finish. Matasevich, Ward, a good number of riders simply were not able to keep the motorcycles running. The mud and the water got to them. Jean-Michel BAYLE, however, riding very, very cautiously, came home in the number 2 position. So he picked up a lot of points there. And we go back just 1 week ago, and that first corner collision taking out so many riders. Jean-Michel BAYLE was one of them. And a little bit later in that opening lap, Jeff Stanton crashing hard, and it put him pretty much out of contention for the title right there, because he was not able to come back and ride the second moto. BAYLE, meanwhile, collected his thoughts, got himself up off the ground, straightened his handlebars. I think he stopped for a sandwich. Who knows what he did. He was well back in the pack, but he put it all together. He put on a tremendous charge and moved all the way up to the number 5 position before that crash-marred moto was over. Jeff Stanton, meanwhile, was riding hurt. He finished 6th as BAYLE took the measure of Stanton, the defending champ, in the late going of the moto. Stanton was not able to come back. He was so sore in between motos, he just had to call it a day. He went out on the racetrack and said, I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. I'll give it a try, see what happens. But he pulled off after 1 lap, said, I just can't sit on the seat of this motorcycle. Here comes Mike LaRocco. You talk about a charger. LaRocco coming up on the inside. Rider number 6 has a history of bad starts. The only time in my life I've ever seen LaRocco get a hole shot was in Las Vegas at a Supercross event. He pulled the early lead, led the field through corner number 1, and held on to take that win. And I think pretty much that spells LaRocco's career. You can't win championships, you can't win motos unless you get a decent start. The competition is just too tough in this talent-loaded field, especially in this 250cc class. Jeff Stanton way out front. He can look over his shoulder and see the rest of the field behind him as he just kind of leisurely rides this track. At least that's the way he makes it look. But you can bet that he is working hard out here in Southwick, Massachusetts. The season finale of this 250 class, the championship that he dominated for the previous 2 years, but is going to lose that title in 1991. In fact, has already lost it to his teammate, the French former 2-time world champion, Jean-Michel BAYLE. Stanton from Sherwood, Michigan, also lost earlier this year. The Supercross title, who did he lose it to? You guessed it, Jean-Michel BAYLE. He's the rider on the right who is lining up now to take the measure of Jeff Ward, and he did that got an outstanding drive down that hill. BAYLE has taken over the number 2 position in Moto number 2, dropping Jeff Ward, rider number 3. He's a two-time 250 national champ, into the number 3 spot. Now, as I told you earlier, this is the season finale in this 250cc class, and as a matter of fact, I think I also stated that the championship was all wrapped up heading into this event. Round 7 of the year, Jean-Michel BAYLE had 237 points. Stanton was the only rider that had a mathematical chance of catching BAYLE. He had 201 points. In the first moto, BAYLE finished 4th. He got 18 points for that effort, giving him a total of 255. And Jeff Stanton, winning the moto, got 25 points. That gave him 226. The difference there, 29 points, and that's an insurmountable lead. So if BAYLE were to park his motorcycle and watch the rest of the action, and Stanton went on to win, he would still lose the title by 4 points to his teammate Jean-Michel BAYLE. So all Stanton can salvage at this point is a top performance, another moto win. Of course, there are a lot of dollars that go with that. The factory pays bonus, the clothing contracts that come along with it, the prize money from the American Motorcyclist Association. It all contributes to the desire to go out and do as well as you can, and not to mention the prestige and the honor. That's what these guys are made of. That's why they're out there racing. A racer is a racer, and would you believe we just had a look at Mike LaRocco, who has passed Jeff Ward. Now that puts LaRocco in the number 3 position. Earlier, I mistakenly said that he would not be a factor in this one, but he has really cut and slashed, hacked his way to the front of the pack. Just an outstanding ride. That's his trademark. Start at the rear and work your way forward. So LaRocco's going to end up 3rd if he keeps it upright. Here's the overall winner for the day, Jeff Stanton. He won Moto number 1. He's going to do the same thing, turn that same trick in Moto number 2. He's waving to the fans as he has slowed the pace, heading for that big fall-away jump. Just a few more feet to go after that. A couple of corners, and here he comes, headed for the checkered flag. Stanton wins his 2nd moto of the day. He receives the congratulations of the Honda mechanics, but he's going back to the pits to take the number 1 plate off his motorcycle, hand it over to his teammate, and here he comes, finishing 2nd. The day, Jean-Michel BAYLE, the newly crowned 250cc national champ. Mike LaRocco is going to finish 3rd, and this is working for trophies and champagne right after this.
Moto national win and then fall off and fall on your head the next weekend and expect to win a championship. So, you know, I enjoy winning here at Southwick. It's my 3rd win here in a row now, and I enjoy coming and racing here in New England. And the people are always good. They have a lot of people here, and but like I said, it's nothing like winning that championship.
Jean-Michel BAYLE.
First moto, I was riding, you know, very conservative because I know I just have to finish in the top 6. So I just tried to finish the race, and I finished 4th. And 2nd moto, I tried my best to try to win, but I have a bad start, and after I try everything I can, but Jeff was very good today.
Yes, with a 1-1 finish, he sure was. You came in a 2nd overall with a 4-2 finish, so like you said, you were riding a little bit conservative, and then, you just turned the wick up in that 2nd moto and wanted to finish in grand style?
Yeah, I never won a race this year, you know, in national, so I just, you know, tried the fast as I can in 2nd moto for try to win, but I got a bad start, and I tried my best. I didn't win. You know, Jeff was very good today, and the track was very hard, and I tried everything I can.
Well, I asked a question to Jeff Stanton about the track. It's always interesting, you know, the spectators stand on the fence line and they see the bumps and whatever, but they just really don't get the feel of what it's like out there. Particularly, what do you see different, or, you know, whatever you might have comments about this Southwick Pro National track here?
Actually, everybody can go fast on this track, but it's very hard to go fast and stay on a bike, so we have to stay on a bike for maybe 15 laps, and this is very hard, and a lot of people go fast for, you know, 2 laps or 3 laps, but what is very hard to do here is just go fast for 30 minutes.
Okay, well, you've heard it from our 1991 250 national champion, Jean-Michel BAYLE. On behalf of the American Motorcycle Association, all of your great fans out there, the people at Southwick, I'd like to present to you the 250 National Motocross Champion #1 plate, 1991, to Jean-Michel BAYLE.
want to thank everybody today because, you know, I know I am French, I am not in my country, but, you know, I try my best to make a good show, and I hope everybody enjoys. Thank you for your support. Thank you.
As Jean-Michel BAYLE receives the accolades of the crowd for winning the championship that he so richly deserves, let's take a look at the overall finishing positions for the day in this 250 class. It was Stanton, BAYLE, Ward, Bradshaw, and Matasevich. Those were the top 5 finishers. The final points standings in the 250 class look like this. It was BAYLE, Stanton, Bradshaw, Matasevich, LaRocco. They're the top 5. Second 5 were Doug Dubach. Then came Jeff Ward, Larry Brooks, Keith Bowen, and Larry Ward rounding out the top 10. Taking a look at the 125 class, and I would remind you that there are still 6 races remaining to determine the champions in that class. KIEDROWSKI was the overall winner for the day, followed by Steve Lamson, Guy Cooper, Buddy Antunez, and Jeremy McGrath. Let's take a look at the point standings in this 125 class. KIEDROWSKI, with 3 overall wins to his credit, is on top, followed by Guy Cooper, Jeff EMIG, Brian Swink, and Steve Lamson. That season still has a long way to go, and anything can happen.
And with that, another day of AMA National Championship Motocross brought to you by Suzuki comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we have enjoyed bringing it to you, and that you'll tune in again right here on Prime Network as the Championship Series continues. Until next time, I'm Larry Myers.